Think of the people that you know in your life that you would call blessed. They've got intelligence. They're blessed with success, with talent, good looks, or influence. I mean, in a sense, these are the people that we look up to like heroes. We aspire to be like them because we want to be blessed like they are. In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus starts the most famous sermon of all time with a series of statements that reframe our whole understanding of what it means to be blessed. He turns our definition of blessedness upside down, and he challenges us to admire and aspire to be someone different. Now, each one of these statements in Jesus' list, they begin with the word makarioi, which can be translated blessed or happy. And so he's talking about happy is the person, blessed is the person who's like this. And I want to read all of these statements to you just so that we can focus on the first one today. But because this is our first study today, I want us to read them all together. It says this: "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they'll inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they'll be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they'll be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now, the whole world around us is longing for and looking for happiness. And people are all the time looking in all kinds of places, really curious places. I mean, relationships, work, money, security, status, all of these things are places where people look. And not only do they look for happiness, but they avoid discomfort, sacrifice, or even any kind of sadness. We all instinctively run from it. But the problem is this hardly ever works. And most of us can see how many people are left empty-handed at the end of that kind of search. And so when Jesus talks about what it looks like to be a blessed person, then when he says that this is what a blessed person looks like, this is who you should admire and aspire to be like, we ought to lean in at that moment, because this is Jesus giving us a heads up on the person that we can all be. So it's easy to remember that this is about being something because we call them the beatitudes, right? And so I want to tell you what they're not. The beatitudes are not a natural temperament or tendency. They don't come naturally to any one of us. Nobody's daydreaming about how they can be poorer in spirit or more humble or pure in heart. That's not what we daydream about. We daydream about how to be great, how to be influential, how to be well known. But these qualities aren't natural. They're produced by the grace of God as we come to him through Christ. The Beatitudes, secondly, are not goals to accomplish. They're not what I do. They're the qualities of character that are seen in the life of somebody who's blessed by God. Thirdly, the Beatitudes are not reserved for the spiritual elite. These qualities are meant to be in operation in all of us who follow Christ. Now, I want you to see this. The gospel, Christianity, is meant to make you and me different than the world around us. And the glory of the gospel is that when we are utterly different from the world around us, we always attract it. The world takes notice. And the Beatitudes begin and end with a promise. And this is the only repeat in the whole list. At the beginning and at the end, it says, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And I think it's important that we note that the person who is operating like this is operating with an attitude and a mindset that comes from heaven. When you and I come to Christ, we're no longer just thinking about or living for the here and now only. We're becoming owners of something more lasting and more valuable. So to be happy in the way that Jesus describes means that even though we're in the world, we no longer have roots in it the way we used to. We're no longer of the world. So I want to talk today about the first of these descriptions, the first of these Beatitudes. It says, blessed are the poor in spirit. Happy are the poor in spirit. Jesus says, here's the person who owns the kingdom of heaven. And the starting point for them is that they're poor in spirit. Not talking about how wealthy I am or poor I am, materially speaking. It's not about material things. Being poor in spirit has to do with an awareness of my spiritual poverty. He says, blessed are the poor in spirit. They know they are spiritually bankrupt. They know that they need help. Now, religion has been, I've said this many times, religion is about what I do for God. It says, in a sense, like this: if religion were to give us this list, it would say, blessed are the middle class in spirit. They work hard for their salvation. They don't rely on anybody else. They get it done themselves. But Christianity is not about that. Christianity is about the poor in spirit. It's about what God has done for me. That's why Jesus is telling us, before I can be blessed, happy in the way that God has purposed for me to be, I have to know how utterly bankrupt I am in myself. Most people that you meet today would say, I've done some good things and I've done some bad things. I've tried my best, but I'm not perfect. I've got some good thing money in the bank, and I've got some bad thing debts that I owe. But it's interesting, isn't it? Most everyone thinks that they're somewhere in the black. They think that they've done more good things than they have bad. Only a Christian realizes that they have no money in the bank spiritually. I have nothing in my life to deserve God's blessing, and I have nothing to pay my debts for the bad things I've done. Everybody does admit that they've done bad things. I want you to see it's not big of anyone to admit that they've done wrong. It's the Christian, though, who says, it's not just my wrong things. It's my right things that were done for the wrong reasons. It's my good things that were done for bad reasons. They were actually my way of keeping control of my life, or of earning somebody's approval, or of gaining my own self-respect, or even forcing God to bless me. But Jesus says, blessed are the poor in spirit. And what if we listened to Jesus today? What if we looked at our account with God and we admitted we have nothing in ourselves that produces the life that is blessed and happy? We have nothing in ourselves that deserves commendation from God. Because if we start with being poor in spirit, it will take us directly to dependence on God's great forgiveness and His grace in Christ. So, who then is the person that the Bible is describing? Who is the person that the Beatitudes are really talking about that we should admire and aspire to be like? Look at what they say: poor in spirit, meek, pure in heart. Listen, Jesus is the real hero in the Beatitudes. The person that we should be looking up to and aspiring to is none other than Jesus Himself. Jesus made Himself nothing and became spiritually poor so that we could be rich. And the Beatitudes point us to the heart habits that will help us to become like Jesus. They point us to a life of dependence upon the grace and the goodness of God, not on my own power or pedigree. They point me to a life that is aimed at the kingdom of heaven. That's the person who's happy. That's the person who is blessed. And it all starts with knowing your need for God. Blessed are they who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.